And tag team wrestling can be exciting, but I really don't think you need to put a third tag team in the ring. Like 6 dudes in the ring is just too many in the damn ring.
I think it just destroyed your jacket.
No, I did that.
I heard it rip more, and this looks like a bigger hole than what
It's a much bigger hole, probably, yeah. But I think my girlfriend is capable of fixing it to some degree, so I'm not terribly worried.
Well, I feel horrible if that makes you feel any better. Or if that makes anything any better.
Well, I already had a hole in it, so I'm not that worried about it.
Yeah, but I can put my head through this one.
It's all right. It's all right. Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week. Should we just let the cat out of the bag? I feel like the title's also going to do the same thing. Whatever. Batman 1989.
We're expecting. Oh.
Yeah, Superman 1978. Yeah, it's really interesting how much a young boy's mind can just run with so little.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, when I was a kid, I didn't give a fuck. It's a Superman movie. It kicks ass.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Superman does almost nothing for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does a lot in terms of like stopping a nuclear bomb, but not exactly the other one or whatever. Yada, 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 yada.
Yeah. Oh, I saw 95 seconds of Blade on a VH1 show where somebody was talking about Blade.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, Spawn.
Yeah.
I love Spawn. That's my whole thing from now on. Yeah.
Yeah. No, same thing. Like I loved Blade. I thought Blade kicked ass.
Oh, so much.
I've told the story, I'm sure, on the podcast before, but we'll tell it again. So much so that when my mom, like, she worked in an office for a little while, and I would wear her suit, her pantsuit, and pretend to be Blade.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Blade wore pantyhose, but for some reason I did. So one time my mom was like, "Hey, we're going to get dinner with my friends at my friend's house. We got to go." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'll change real quick." She's like, "No time. Put your jacket on." So I get to the guy's house, and of course he's like, "Whoa, nice outfit, whatever." And I'm trying to walk in the house. And he's like, "Oh no, shoes off the door." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm okay." And he's like, "No, it's like a shoes off pants." So I took them off, and I had the pantyhose on her. He's like, "Oh, pantyhose, okay, right." So it's very embarrassing, but yeah, same. But The Crow, loved it.
My favorite Chris story, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, have we talked about the Crow on the podcast?
Oh, we must have.
No, we haven't. We haven't done The Crow before.
We've talked about it for sure.
Yes. But The Crow, loved it. Hellboy, loved it. Spawn, loved it. Blade, loved it.
Yeah,
but
I
also,
came in like a little after, I think. So I got like so much. Like I didn't see The Crow until I met you.
Yeah, you missed out.
I did. I really did. So obviously you love this movie.
Yeah, and I was also blessed with, in my opinion, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin as a child.
I loved Batman and Robin as a kid.
Yeah.
That one, that was like, because my first like superhero movie that I was like all about, where I was like, I love superhero shit now, was for sure the first Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then that was around the time that, they were still playing Batman and Robin on TV.
Yeah.
And I would see it all the time and just love it.
Oh, man. You're going to edit that out.
Oh, for sure.
It's crazy to think of how many like early comic book adaptations were like the weird niche shit, like Spawn, Blade, Crow.
It's
so weird.
Because it's like, you can't really make an Iron Man in the 90s and early 2000s. It's like, so what can we do?
Yeah, we can do all these Miramax level of movies.
We can do all these sick dudes in leather jackets.
But they really tried with Spawn.
They really did.
They really tried.
They really did. That dude looks crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved Spawn growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's your relationship with Batman 1989? Do you remember watching it as a kid? Is this a nostalgic thing for you, or is it...
Listen, we love professional wrestling, right?
Oh, yeah.
We all love a good heel.
Mm-hmm.
We love to hate him.
Yeah.
We love watching him, but we know deep down, right, that in real life, Razor Ramon's not a bad guy.
Yeah, and he's also not Cuban.
He's not Cuban. He's just kind of playing it up,
the
bad guyness, not the Cuban thing. And him and all the other wrestlers are actually friends in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so keeping that in mind. Chris, this movie fucking sucks, and I'm tired of pretending it doesn't.
Okay.
I love a lot of parts of this movie.
Yeah.
But I did not see it as a kid.
Yeah.
And so every time I watch this, I'm like, this is just like a fever dream. Like, it's just so strange.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Elton the other day about it because we watched it with Elton.
Yeah.
And him and I went on a bit of a long car ride, and so we were talking about it. And he liked it, but he wasn't, blown away by it. And I was like, what I think it probably is Chris is the oldest, an older sibling, and I'm the youngest sibling. So my dad's older than Chris's dad is. So Chris's dad is nostalgic for a lot of 80s things.
Yeah.
And my dad grew up...
He hates this movie, for reference.
Getting way ahead of me.
Anyways.
And my dad grew up in the 70s, so he's nostalgic for nothing. So, I'm like, so probably Chris saw this a bunch as a kid, which makes total sense, and that's fine, but I just don't have that. But I think this is probably like a big like father-son nostalgia thing for Chris. Yeah. And then I follow your dad on Letterboxd, and I went to go log it on Letterboxd, and I saw that your dad gave it 2 stars, and I went, well, that complicates things.
To talk about why I like it,
but also to be fair, you and I watched 15 minutes of Batman and Robin the other day, and I was over the moon. I love that movie, so I don't want to. I would never try to take any of this away from you.
No, it's a great example of one of those things. Like you have to take away. I'm speaking broader, not just you, but take away Tim Burton being the guy who ruined Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and the guy who ruined Alice in the Wonderland and all that kind of shit. And it's just, the 80s. And this guy, did Beetlejuice, some other weird shit. Eventually he'd do Edward Scissorhands. It's that thing that I'm always talking about where it's like, especially Batman Returns. But it's that thing where it's like, if I were if I had like Jeff Bezos money, I would be constantly giving studios $100 million just to be like, okay, I want No Country for Old Men, but I want Judd Apatow to direct it this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what this movie is for me. It's like, why they Tim Burton? It's just, I don't know, it's odd. I know it doesn't go full Tim Burton, but there's just enough. I like, I'm an old movie fan. I know it's to the, chagrin of some folk, like my dad hates it. But I genuinely prefer to CGI. I swear to God, I prefer like The Wizard of Oz, like where it's a painted backdrop. It just adds this weird surreal, like you have to buy. It's like professional wrestling, like you have to do half the work. Yeah. And someone else made it, and it's just so much more enchanting to me.
Yeah. No. So I'm sorry if we've had this conversation on here before, but yeah, I do. I love in a movie where like. Yeah, you're like, I know this. My brain knows that this is a set.
Yeah,
and I know.
But I have to use my imagination.
And I have to use my imagination. But there's also just part of my brain, since I've been watching movies since I was a child. In my heart of hearts, I believe that there is a place in this world that looks like a movie set that is magic. Yeah, and so that's what I'm watching, and that's where this movie was made. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Same thing with Gotham. Like everything happens in front of the Monarch Theater, but that one block,
so good.
Oh God. That fucking is, kill me with a knife, because that is
one of those things. I will 100% get into this movie. This movie, the sets in it are just chef's kiss. So
all of them, top to bottom.
Top to bottom.
Yeah. And something I don't always do, is take notes on these movies. But I did take notes.
Before we get into it, since we don't have a letter this week, I'd like to read a review that I found.
That you agree with or hate?
You'll see.
Okay, go ahead.
I like parts of it, but the whole movie mainly is boring to me. It's okay, but it was more of a cultural phenomenon than a great movie. That's Tim Burton said that.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
But
no,
I mean, because it's kind of like that David Lynch thing where he's like, I don't like Dune.
Yeah, it makes sense because Batman Returns is such a wildly different movie.
Yeah.
And that feels like Tim Burton being like, this is the movie I want to make.
Yeah.
And personally,
I like these two.
Yeah, I like Returns a little bit more than this one. But
kind of reminds me of Batman Begins versus like The Dark Knight. Like Batman Begins a little restrained, and then The Dark Knight, he put his whole Christopher Nolan-nessy in there.
Nolan-nessy.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So from the rip, Danny Elfman's score goes fucking bonkers.
Insane.
They recognized it was so good they used it for the animated series.
Did they?
Yeah. A lot. Actually, that was legitimately. This is one of the major reasons why the animated series got greenlit.
Oh, I know.
And they very much so wanted it to feel like related. And I feel like watching this movie, you get that sense. I like that with Batman. They do that. I don't know if the precedent had been set much with the comics. I don't know because I'm not that familiar, but I do like that. This movie does have that animated series like nondescript 40s, 50s. It's like a noir, like pulp, old-timey suits, old-timey gangster stuff.
Yeah.
Everything's Art Deco. They're like the inside of Grissom's office or whatever it is, right?
It's something that I'm of two minds on this, where I agree with you and I don't. Specifically with this movie, like the animated series, when it comes to Batman, we can all agree that's quintessential. That's just Batman.
Yeah,
because it is taking what Batman was, I think, becoming in the late '80s, early '90s with like the Killing Joke and the Dark Knight Returns.
Okay,
is Batman's getting dark. Batman's like Frank Miller and Alan Moore are writing Batman comics, and people are like, oh, Batman can actually kick ass and be kind of a bummer at the same time. And so Batman started getting darker, I think, at that time. And then the animated series takes that tone, but also gives you not like old 40s, 50s, even 70s Batman like wackiness, but like mixes it all together, and it's pitch perfect. It's pitch perfect.
Yeah.
But the 89 Batman is so strange to me.
Yeah.
Because it is so wholly itself.
Yeah.
And I love it for that.
Yeah.
Something that just...
It's an island unto itself.
Exactly. But it's something that just really bugs me when I hear people talk about this movie. Like, oh, Jack Nicholson's a perfect Joker, and Michael Keaton's the perfect Batman. I love Michael Keaton, and I'll watch him do anything. I love Jack Nicholson, and I'll watch him do anything. And I love both of them in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think either of them are good Batman or Joker. You know what I mean? But I
do what you mean, yeah.
I still just love him. Like, and I love, but I'm never not like, this is Jack Nicholson playing the Joker. Like, that's never not in my mind when I'm watching it, you know?
And it's interesting to me how many elements are already present here of things that would go on to be in each of the movies, but, there are also things that people, like, lust for. But anyways, whatever. Right from the rip, I like it opens with this little vignette that's like kind of like a wink and a nod to people who know the Batman story. Yeah. They tease, basically, the alley murder of Bruce Wayne's parents. But no, it's just nondescript kid, and the parents get robbed.
Don't they do that in the new Batman as well? Doesn't the Batman start with like you watching a kid with his parents and you think for a split second?
I can't remember. I genuinely only saw that once in the theater. I haven't seen it since.
I think it starts with... the mayor that gets killed. Okay. It starts like a shot of his son. Yeah. Like dressed up like a ninja, just like going wah wah wah, and then like his parents come up to him, and then I think it's supposed to be just like this, like it's supposed to.
Fun. And then the two robbers, I guess you'll call them, on the roof. I love that already Tim Burtonified. These two look like classic Tim Burton.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, for sure, he was the one that was like, these are the two guys we're going for. The one guy's like, oh my God, the bat. And I like this, like that like air of like they're afraid of him kind of a thing. And he's like, trust me, there's no bat, or whatever. Batman shows up, and immediately he sometimes kicks ass with like these crazy cool kicks, but that's it. All he does is throw like cool kicks like twice.
I think
like two cool kicks.
The first thing you see him do in this movie is get pushed to the ground.
Yeah, shot to the ground.
Yeah, yeah. But I just love this movie. That at almost every turn, it gives me exactly what I don't want to see Batman doing. Like constantly in this movie, he's getting pushed over, and they're like, he like falls into a dumpster, and they're like, pull his pants down, and just shit like that. Yeah. Or I said it while we were watching it. Yeah. And it's so funny because I thought it once, and then they did it like 9 times. Yeah. Never, ever, ever show me the Batman using the stairs. Yeah. Like, I think it's like in the new Justice League movie. Yeah. There's a scene of all of them walking up the stairs. I'm like, that's the dumbest. Why would you ever put that in a superhero movie? And then there's just one quick shot of him like running down a couple stairs. I'm like, oh yeah, don't show me that. And then I think 2 minutes later he walks all the way up that clock tower.
Yeah. 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 Obviously there's the stiff neck issue.
Yeah. Which is, I love and hate. Yeah. Because it just makes him move different. Yeah. And it is just that movement of just not moving your head while you're, or not moving your neck while you're turning is, in theory, goofy. Mm-hmm. But that's how Batman moves. Yeah. Like, and just, it's probably until the Dark Knight, Batman couldn't move his head. Yeah. So just in my mind, that's how Batman moves. I think you said it. He moves kind of like a monster.
Yeah,
like
intentionally. So Tim Burton's a crazy big fan of horror movies. He's once referred to Vincent Price's 1950s remake of the House of Wax as being akin to the Bible for him. And there are a couple of like visual shout outs to, or like story beat shout outs to some horror stuff. But yes, so the first thing he does is flap his wings entirely spread out and then walk slowly towards them. Like just stuff like that, right? Like also worth mentioning that the suit is kind of out of control. In terms of being practical, whatever, but like the actual design of it, like from an aesthetic standpoint,
yeah,
it looks great. I really like simplifying it to black and yellow. Good.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good. I'm not saying it's like my, like is it my personal favorite Batman look? I don't know. Like yada yada. I'm just saying that like objectively, it's a good Batman.
I could be wrong.
A good Batman look.
I'm not like a historian.
Yeah.
But I think this is the first time Batman was all black.
Probably.
And it looks great.
Yeah.
The one complaint I have is there are some parts on like the neck and the head that are a little bit too beefy.
Yeah, the face is specifically beefy.
He like his
which
head,
is interesting because like there's a Undertaker look that he had for a couple of months where the Undertaker in WWE had like actually broken the bone in his face.
Cool.
And he had to wear a mask to cover, like to protect actually his face until he got his surgery. And they do a very similar thing because it's obviously actually protective, where it's like really bulky.
Yeah.
And it's always reminded me of Batman 1989. They went for like a Phantom of the Opera.
That's fun.
Angle where they were like, oh, he's been so horribly, scarred. That's what the mask is for. Yeah.
But it just comes off sometimes that Batman looks like a kid in a costume in this to me. Because his head is just a little bit too big.
Yeah.
Oh, that rips ass.
Yeah.
Rips ass. And so that's why I think the suit in the next one is perfect. Because they just slim that down a little bit.
Yeah.
But besides that small complaint, love it. It's great.
And also, I will take this time, I think I may have talked about it on the podcast before, but lumping in with how much I like this Batman look, I will also say that my favorite Undertaker look is the early look when his shit would be gray or purple. I think I prefer it with purple. Sick. But it's such a good look.
Yeah.
The big purple gloves, the purple boots, and then just like the comically ripped arms.
Love it. Yeah.
That's new generation shit. It's just like perfect. It's almost like the animated series where it's so perfectly like a mix of goofy and just about to break into like the edgy 90s thing, you know what I'm saying? So, anyways, referring back to my list, though, my little notes, Art Deco, a lot of gangster stuff. You've got Jack Torrance, whatever his name. Has any other actor ever played more roles with their actual real name? Like the first name?
That's a great question.
Jack Torrance. He's named Jack here. What is it? Jack Napier. Jack Napier. And he works for Grissom, and Grissom's like right-hand man, but he's fucking the boss's wife. So the boss sets him up with this whole thing about how like, because you get introduced to Commissioner Gordon and Harvey Dent, and they're talking about how like the crime's so bad, nobody wants to come here, nobody wants to spend money, nobody wants to vacation.
Shout out Billy Williams.
Yes, great. So they want to clean up crime, and so Harvey Dent is putting the squeeze on Grissom. Grissom tells Jack Napier like they're gonna catch us embezzling all this money. They're really close to.
Who's the guy who plays his boss?
The guy who plays Grissom?
Yeah,
I don't know offhand. I don't know. Is this another joke you're setting up that I'm gonna miss?
No, okay. That's serious. He's like,
okay,
go on.
Because it had a very similar tone to like when you tell a joke on the podcast and then I don't get it and you get upset. Anyways, he's like, you gotta go. Well, Jack has the idea, although he does kind of softball it to him. And he's like, that's a great idea, Jack. Why don't you go do it? He's like, break in, trash the place, destroy the books, call it, industrial espionage. And he's like, I want you to do it. He's like, you're my number one guy, So they go to the chemical plant at the same time,
It's Jack Palance.
Oh.
And he's just an old school actor.
He is. Yeah.
And I remember reading somewhere Tim Burton cast him and like sought him out because he was like, he's the only person that could believably be Jack Nicholson's boss. That's so good.
That is so cool. I also love like there's a whole era of directors who intentionally sought out like actors they grew up watching in horror films and stuff.
Yeah.
Just like the obvious answer is George Lucas with putting Peter Cushing in the role as that Tarkin or whatever, the General Tarkin or whatever the guy. But
Something
also
like
put in the guy who played like the Hammer Frankenstein, the actual monster himself, under the Vader mask, as well as eventually using Christopher Lee, very famously Dracula, to play Count Dooku, but also Tim Burton making Christopher Lee Johnny Depp's dad in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
But also Tim Burton going on to put Vincent Price into Edward Scissorhands, being Edward Scissorhands' dad. I think that was Vincent Price's last role.
Tarantino does the same thing. I don't think it's horror movies, but like so many, like especially. Well, no, I wouldn't say that.
Well, like the Wolf or whatever. Isn't the guy, the Wolf, Harvey?
Oh, Harvey Keitel?
Yeah, is he in Taxi Driver? Did we see him in Taxi
Driver?
Yeah,
he's the pimp in Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
I think he's just like in general like a really well known character actor, but
I think
like
kind of like how there's that guy who plays Jerry Horn, and he's also in the Warriors.
Yeah,
that's a character actor I've always liked because he's also in the fucking Crow.
Hell yeah,
he's in the Warriors.
He is.
He's in the Crow, and he's in Twin Peaks. That's a knockout.
But Tarantino uses a lot of television actors from the 60s and 70s that he grew up watching, and like I think it was just like I want to see these guys in movies, so I'm gonna put them in my movies, and just like with Jack Palance and all these guys.
Jack Palance is a name I know. Also, I'll have to do a little research after.
Tango and Cash and
anyways, Shane.
Yeah.
I want to watch Hang 'em High soon. Bruce Wayne is having his little thing. Vicky Vale's here with some guy. He's funny. I like moderately funny. I feel like I love it. I'm here for it. But Superman goes for funny a little too much. It's campy. It's kind of funny. It's almost like Andy Warhol made a Batman movie just for the fuck of it. Like it has never been released. He's just because like just the iconography of like Batman is so poppin'. But like Superman almost stinks like that to me. It almost feels like someone doing it semi-ironically, like a John Waters or something. But we'll get there. Like what I'm saying? It has like this like camp to it.
Yeah.
That like, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, there were some jokes in Superman that like surprised me. I'm like, I did not expect a joke to hit me like that in this Superman movie. But like you said, we'll get there when we get there.
So basically like they go to a gala that like Bruce Wayne is happening. Whatever. Bruce Wayne's using his little spy kit inside his house to eavesdrop on Commissioner Gordon, and basically talks about the Axis chemical thing going on. Great. They go kapooey, gun noises. I want to. Sorry, what do you love? Jack Napier, just like when he gets there and the whole like police, everybody's like, we've been ratted out, boys.
Just like, set up, yeah, it's great.
Just the 40s gangster stuff that happens in this show.
I do all of that, all the Jack Napier and the gang stuff and him getting after his boss and shooting his girlfriend and stuff like that. I want all of that out of this movie.
Okay.
If I'm being perfectly honest, it is just me being just a little bitch, just being a little purist, Batman-y kind of guy. Yeah. But I think if just Jack Nicholson as the Joker showed up in this movie, that's so much cooler to me.
Okay.
I think the Joker works so much better without any of that, and the fact that he hasn't had that in 60 years.
Yeah.
Great, love it.
That's fair.
Shows so much restraint from like comic book creators that like. I mean, it has happened. People have tried to give him that backstory, but as soon as they do, people are like, never mind, that was a joke.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get too far away from the dinner party at his house before he leaves.
Yeah.
Because I think my favorite parts of this movie
are
Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
I love him like walking around and like I just love him in his house, and he just seems lost all the time. When he's Bruce Wayne, he's just lost because his mind is in 6 other places.
Yeah, and I do think Michael Keaton has the perfect, like, such a nice guy, and he's being, like, kind of sarcastic and funny in a way that isn't mean. It's a little aloof, but also you can tell that he's really smart. Like, it's got this, like, perfect combination of, like, mild manner, but there's more to it. You know, like I don't know.
He, like, seems like a huge dick, but also... a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think when he, like, comes in the room with Vicky Vale and cop or reporter, and he's like, if we see Wayne around here, maybe he can get me a grant and blah, blah, blah. And, no, where did this come from? And Bruce goes, it comes from Japan. He goes, well, how do you know that? He goes, because I got it in Japan. And he goes, oh, you're Bruce Wayne? He goes, yeah, and blah, blah, blah. And they just have a conversation. And then Alfred comes and goes, the commissioner's leaving, sir. He goes, okay. He goes, he's leaving in a hurry.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, okay. He's like about to go, and he goes, so-and-so in the front room needs more drinks. So-and-so just showed up and they need, like, he's got 11 things in his mind that he's remembered that have happened in the past 15 minutes. He's like, and this and this and that, and give him a grant. And then he leaves. It's so good. I love it.
I also got to be honest. I agree, with the backstory thing. I think it loses some mystique, but I do love the vat of chemicals.
It is great.
I think that's a classic with the Joker. It's great. I mean, with Alan Moore's Killing Joke.
Mm-hmm.
I like him getting set up at the Axis chemical plant to be the Red Hood or whatever, and then he falls in the vat of chemicals. Vat of chemicals, great. It's one of those things like we were just talking about where, like, the cartoony... That to me is like not taking it too far for some reason. I like the vat of chemicals. It's just fun. Whatever. Great.
And I do love. Yeah, I'm always so conflicted about the Red Hood stuff, like in the comics, because I'm like, I don't know if I like it or not.
Yeah.
Because it is great. I do love the idea of him being the Red Hood and getting set up and pushed in, but I also love the idea of no one really knowing if that's a true story or not.
Yeah.
Because I can have my cake and eat it too. You know, it's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Then the Joker surgery happens. This thing is horrific, obviously, kind of like a monster movie moment.
You
kind
see
of
what I have to work with.
Yeah.
He's from
covered in bandages.
Doctor's from Transylvania, I guess.
Yeah, great. Vicky Vale spends the night. They have a little date. Batman does that thing where he hangs upside down to stretch out your back, but he's Batman, so it's also funny. When I was a kid, I thought that's like he had snuck off in the middle of the night to actually go get some real sleep because that's how he sleeps. So
I love their date. I love just
at the table,
dumb joke,
he's like,
but it's so funny.
You know, I don't think I've ever actually been in this room.
Yeah, do you like this room?
Yeah,
I love this room. This room's great. Actually, no, I don't think I've ever actually been in this room. I love the joke of them yelling at each other from across the table, and he passes the salt and he has to walk all the way to the other side of the table. And then I love them going to just hang out with Alfred where he hangs out. Yeah. Like in his little kitchen area. Yeah. And it's great. I like Alfred in this movie. Shout out to that actor.
Yeah, Michael Gouche. I don't know how you say it. I think it's Gouche, but he's another Hammer.
That makes total
Hammer
sense.
guy, yeah. He plays like the Jonathan Harker kind of character. I don't remember his name.
And I love that he's in all of these Batman movies.
Yeah.
He's like, for sure I'll come back.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Joker gets his vengeance on Grissom. I love this little scene. I think this is great. Because like Grissom, Jack Palance or whatever, and the Joker, I know it's not your particular favorite flavor, but it just has that like Mask of the Phantasm, like Chucky, Saul, your angel of death awaits. Like just all these like old guys with like breathing masks because they smoked for 60 years. Kind of like he looks like shit, Grissom does, but he looks like money at the same time. Like he's the oldest dude wearing silk you ever seen. And Jack's like, and he's like reaching for the gun, and Jack's like, come on, Jack Palance, you know?
Yeah, and I love, like I said, I wish that wasn't in here, but for what it is and how it's presented in this movie, it's great.
Yeah.
It's just fun. I love Grissom's office.
Yeah, looks great.
And the giant windows.
Yeah, with the giant like statues on the side of the building you can see outside. It's so Gotham.
It's so Gotham, and I love actually, no, I think the Batman does this, but the Batman does it in a different way, where it's just like overbearing. But I love that in this movie, no matter what, like Palance has that amazing office. Yeah, and it looks great. It's got these two beautiful windows with the worst view you've ever seen. So that no matter what's happening, you can always just see the disgusting Gotham City, the just horrible crime-ridden Gotham City is always just pouring in from everywhere. It's great. I love it. And I think the Batman does that really well. Like Gotham looks really good, and there's a lot of like you get a feel for the city the entire time. Yeah. But it does more so is just always, and it's always there. The inside of every building looks gross, where I like that in this one, the Flugenheim looks nice. It looks like a nice place you want to hang out, or Palance's office looks great. But again, as soon as you look out of a window,
between the two. Yeah. It is good. That's the highs and the lows, right? Right before Rome fell, or whatever they say. But I wanted to also say that the Joker, in my opinion, has some good bits in this.
Oh, they're great.
When he shoots Grissom behind his back like that.
I love it.
Very funny. Great. But I also like, they do a good job of making him a little ruthless. Like, when he's sitting where Grissom is sitting and he sees the paper and he just wipes Grissom's blood off of it and then reads it. And he says the whole, like, wait till they get a load of me thing or whatever.
Great line. Love it.
Great. Yeah. Great. But like I'm saying, like, even just, like, that shot of his desk with, like, the splatterings of blood and him, like, rubbing it off the paper, like, just a little gross, you know?
Yeah. Or he lights that guy up or electrocutes him.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about right now. This is the pencil trick scene.
Yeah,
he comes
absolutely.
to a table of lobsters, and he's like, I got a proposition for you. I don't know what it is because I wasn't paying attention. I'm not going to lie to you. But instead of slamming a guy's pencil into his eyeball, he electrocutes him with a little gadget.
It's great.
And it's a good bit.
What does he say to him at the end? He's like, oh, you want me to kill them all? Oh, Albertson, you're a real sick son of a bitch. Yeah. I'm glad you're dead.
Yeah, good bit.
But I do love, there's a lot, we've been saying it through this whole thing, but I do love, what's that, who's that quote from? Don't copy, steal?
Yeah, or whatever, it's just a famous quote.
Yeah, and I love that, you can see parts of this movie in every other Batman movie, where every other Batman director, except for maybe the Schumacher ones, where other directors go, let's do this, but just different.
Yeah. Up next, I think it's just some Batman shit on the TV, but he punches it with a glove thing or whatever. Great. Good bit. Let's see what else we have. Smilex, Joker. Interrupting the broadcaster. It's just like the Dark Knight, taking over the...
Yeah, absolutely.
So he can do is like, oh, and I'm a man of my word, or whatever.
Jack Nicholson in this scene doing that commercial is the most fun I think I've seen anybody have making a movie.
Love that Joker.
Like, it's just the definition of chewing up scenery.
Yeah.
Like, I could watch
so
for
good.
hours.
Yeah, this is a for sure highlight of the movie. I love the Smilex stuff. And also on a side note, I like that they mentioned like when they go down to like the Bat Cave or whatever, and he runs to the background, and Jack Napier, he's like, he's good at science and chemicals or whatever, because he makes these little gadgets. But also I like that he makes that the thing where it's like, he didn't just poison cosmetics. It's that certain chemicals have to interact with each other, so you have to use like the lipstick and the hairspray and the deodorant or whatever, or else it won't actually have an effect on you or whatever.
Also, you know what I think is strange?
Yeah.
The in the news broadcast where they're talking about the two dead models that like they got poisoned and they got the Joker smiles. Isn't it just the tiniest bit strange that they're like, so two models died and here are their dead bodies right here. Here's a picture of them. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, it is.
I thought they'd get a bigger laugh out of you. Anyway,
my bad.
Don't apologize for me not doing a good job.
You've been funny before. It'll happen again.
I think we missed. I love the scene on the like city hall steps or whatever with the mimes.
Oh yes,
I love it. I think I'm taking this observation from somebody else, but I do love like. Your brain works watching the scene the way everybody in that scene's brain would work. You see a mime in the background.
Like, a mime.
You see a mime and you go, that's strange. And then another mime happens. Another mime comes up and you're like, something's about to go down.
Yeah.
And I do love while this is going on.
The pen is truly mightier than the sword.
Yeah. All that stuff is great. And I love everybody. They do this in the Batman at the funeral. When everybody's running away, everybody's facing one direction except for Bruce Wayne. He's watching what's happening.
Yeah.
It's great. I love that. And, like, it's a little over the top when he gets shot through the giant shoulder pad of his jacket.
Yeah.
Of his 80s jacket. But I do just love that.
I agree.
I love that it works on a level of him being like, I'm Batman and I'm interested in what's happening. And also on the level of, I'm Batman and I pushed that guy into a vat of chemicals the other day.
Yeah. I don't remember in what context, but the Joker gets asked, like, what he wants or whatever. He's like, my face on the $1 bill.
Yes.
And then immediately after, they say something or whatever, and he says, do I look like I'm joking? Which is very funny. It's such a funny thing to say. Also, I love that the Bruce Wayne like gets that information out to the public about the cosmetic missing, and the fucking Joker shoots. He Elvis Presley's a television set. TV sets. Beware. You're in for a scare. Okay, so then there's also a scene where Bruce Wayne, you went to the bathroom for this, but he basically...
Oh, let's get nuts.
Yeah, but he's basically gets the gumption to like be like, hey, I'm the Batman. That's why I lied about like, I'm going out of town, but Alfred spilled the beans, yada yada. So he goes over there, and what happens? Yes, she's bitching him out. And he's pussyfooting around, and then eventually he shoves her into a chair and says, "Shut up," and then tries to shoves her down into a chair and says, "Shut up," and then he tries to explain. And honestly, that was a little salty. But what follows is like him mealy mouth trying to explain what he's saying or whatever, and like it's so funny because he's like, "All right, you know how like people, a guy he gets up in the morning and needs a job, and he goes off to that job, and not doing a very good job of this. But like he's like slowly like looking up and up as he goes through like this whole guy's day kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like, and he's just like, I'm not doing a good job of this.
I gotta rewatch this.
Yeah, so funny. And then the Joker knocks, yada yada yada. I like this. I like Bruce Wayne doing this. It's something I feel like I've seen. I don't know exactly where. I want to say the animated series just because it's a nice default, but like where he'll like kind of get close to a criminal while he's Bruce Wayne and basically to be like, I know it. I know who you are, Jack. Like he'll just drop his real name. You know
what this movie could have used? Matches Malone. Go on.
Yeah, it could have. Yeah. Yeah, so funny. I think about that still very frequently. Yeah, so
back when
we were watching high on pot, we were pot smoking, and we were watching an episode of the animated series, and Bruce Wayne dresses up as a homeless man and asks people to refer to him as Matches Malone. And I was just high, and I was like, "This is more unhinged than dressing up like a Batman."
Yeah, just hanging out, going. Like... And I wasn't gonna bring up us being 19, 20 years old, being high out of our minds watching cartoons. Yeah. But later in life, I had a drug dealer who, in my phone, his name was Matches Malone.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. But anyways, continuing on, let's get nuts.
Does he have Joker makeup or plain makeup in this scene?
Can't remember, but he keeps doing that thing where he puts makeup on over his...
It's very funny.
Yeah, it's a good gag. Good gag.
And it always looks like he has makeup on over makeup. Yeah. I for sure they've got makeup over the prosthetics, but like they do his whole face. I think I remember reading forever ago the scene where she like they're in the museum and she squirts the water in his face.
So good. And that scared me as a kid.
When he's got like the skin color makeup is coming off. Apparently that was the hardest thing to do in this movie because how do you get just one layer of makeup to come off? You know?
Yeah.
Like I would never have thought about that, but it's like, oh yeah, no, how on earth did they do that?
Yeah.
Movie magic.
I will also say something we forgot to mention is after he does the wait till they get a load of me or whatever, he's sitting there, the camera lingers for a little second. I don't know if like Tim Burton just didn't call a cut or anything like that, but he's just like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Boop. Boop. And he like laughs.
I love it, yeah.
And I feel like it's one of those things that like, whether you don't like him as Joker or not, I can't picture another actor getting away with that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I buy it for Jack.
Yeah.
But I feel like I couldn't buy it for a lot of Jokers. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of actors. I feel like that's a little thing. So the big balloon's full of gas, right?
Correct.
Yeah. What does Batman do? He does the Dark Knight Rises. He runs them out. Them out. Yeah.
Luckily, he's got a... We're talking about the parade at the end, yeah?
The parade at the end, yes.
Luckily, Batwing, he knew.
Scissors.
Had to have big scissors
one
on
day. Yeah. Also, we get the come on, hit me.
Exactly. Yeah. I love the big gun.
Long gun.
Never gonna be not funny to me.
Long gun is so funny.
Do you want to talk about the museum at all?
The museum?
Yeah, where they're like painting over the paintings and stuff like that.
It's fun.
I love all that.
Yeah.
That's the only time I like the Prince music in this movie.
Okay.
If I'm being perfectly honest. And yeah, I just love the culmination of where does he get those wonderful toys? That's a great line.
Yeah.
But also I do love Batman comes down and pulls out the gadget that like shoots the two things across the other side of the room.
Yeah.
But I love that he comes down, grabs her, puts that thing up, and then it goes...
Yeah.
And 45 seconds pass, and then he shoots out.
And then he moves slow as hell, and they all just go like, ah, what the hell? Batman's escaping.
Ah, jeez, he's 2 inches higher than I can jump.
Yeah. But anyways, whatever. So yeah, so like Batman crashes, Joker takes her to the top of that bell tower. Again, another like horror movie thing that it'd be ending at the top of this tower, like the windmill in Frankenstein or something.
Also, the 2 biggest sins in this movie.
Yeah.
Running upstairs a lot.
Yeah.
And they're making him look straight up a lot. Like I'll give him turning around, not being able to turn his head, but when he has to look straight up and bend his whole back.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
And also, adding to the Frankenstein thing, it is kind of like Frankenstein in the sense that he's fighting at the top of this windmill with his creation, his monster that he's made. Yeah. So, anyways, but they're up there. I like once they get going, like when he's like, "Come on, you made me," and it was hard to get over. And don't think that I didn't try.
Yeah,
so funny.
And I love when Batman he's like, "You ever dance with the devil?" Like,
we have not mentioned that. Yeah,
I don't love that.
No.
That he killed his parents, but anyway.
It's a great line, though. That shit's cold. And I also love that predating Pulp Fiction, because Pulp Fiction eventually, Samuel L. Jackson reveals, I never really thought what it meant. I just thought it was some cold-blooded shit to say to a motherfucker before I killed him. Same thing, the Joker says, like, I thought it was some cool shit to say to someone before I kill him.
But no, I love with all that being there and the Joker being like, "You created me and I tried to go, trust me, I tried, it was hard."
Yeah.
And Batman goes, "Yeah, but you killed my parents, so you created me." And I love the Joker goes, "I created you, you created me. What's the difference?"
Yeah. And I've always, since I was a kid, loved when he pulls the glass on. He's like, "Come on, you gonna look at glasses?" Like, why did he have those?
That is
such good prop comedy.
Without a doubt, my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah, so good. Then they're all on the side of the building.
You ever seen Wreck-It Ralph?
No, never once.
From what I remember, Wreck-It Ralph 1 is good. I didn't see the second one, but there's like in one of the video games they go to, it's like a Mario Kart type deal, but it's like in a candy kingdom.
Okay.
Like there's a candy king who's played by Alan Tudyk, who's an actor you'd know if you saw him, and he does like a lot of voice work. Yeah. He's very funny.
I think I know him. He's in Dodgeball, isn't he?
I believe so.
As
yeah.
Ira.
Yes. Yeah, that's him.
And he's in Tucker and Dale.
Yes.
Versus Evil.
Tucker or Dale.
I think he's. You're right. I don't know which one.
Yeah, he's the robot in Rogue One as well.
We should do Tucker and Dale, and then we should do Bodies. I think those two would pair well.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I have such a lust to do some horror stuff, but it's like, I don't want to fuck up future Oktoberfest fodder. Yeah, but I think that's a trademark of AMC. October Horror Fest. Go ahead.
Rocktober.
Rock the
Toyota-thon.
Anyways, yes.
Oh no, there's just a joke where he's like, he does the same thing. He goes, "You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you?" And someone pulls him off and like hits him over the head with him. He goes, "Oh wow, you hit a guy with glasses."
Yeah, it's funny. It's good. Yeah. The last thing I absolutely love about this movie is it just reminds me of something out of like Edward Scissorhands or whatever. Like when they do the slow pan up from like the metronome in his pocket that he just has for no reason, going like
spooky. I love it.
It's just weird. Yeah, it's a weird little scene.
Love
it indeed. And then it ends with them being like, Batman gave us a sign," and then they shoot the bat signal off, and then the movie's over.
We're homies now.
Yeah. B+. I like this movie a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely
like it more sitting here talking about it.
Okay.
I've definitely come around on it a bit. I just don't love it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it.
Yeah. See, I love it.
C+.
Yeah, I get that. That's respectable. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I was watching it and I was thinking like, is it a good movie? Probably not. But also, I respect, that thing where it's from an era when, like, from the rip, you're just like, there's no way I'm gonna make a good Batman movie, in the sense that it's not gonna rival like The Godfather.
Yeah.
And I just mean to say that, like, I think that much like the animated series or professional wrestling at certain times, humility and having like a humble attitude towards what you're doing, can kind of aid in the process. So there were so many times where I was like, the Axis Chemicals thing, is that a good like gangster shootout between cops? No, not really. If you look at it from the standpoint of like, I want to watch like groundbreaking cinema or like moving cinema or like the best. But if I'm shifting gears into much like thinking about what an Andy Warhol Batman would be like, you are art student Tim Burton making a Batman movie, and you're like, oh, well, it's probably want to go for like a 40s gangster thing. So with that vision in mind, like the idea that like inherently the movie's going to be a little campy. It's going to be a little silly, right? Like we just watched Superman 1978. That's a different kind of camp, but I feel like this has camp. And that's one of the things that I feel like might get lost on people when they look back at older movies and they think how bad, like, oh, that's so bad. It's like, no, it's not bad. They're trying to do something. Exactly. They're actually trying to make this campy. Like, it's the kind of thing where like you and I might watch a movie and be like, oh, it's so badass how like Twin Peaks is an example. Like one of the things I love about Twin Peaks is that it's trying to do the soap opera thing.
Yeah.
It's so much fun, right? But like it's so easy for like someone who might be a little jaded, not to put them on blast, but like your dad might watch it and be like, oh my God, how could you watch this? And it's like, no, you're not understanding. Like that's supposed to be the part that you appreciate.
Yeah.
Is that they're doing this silly thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like what we were saying with like the sets and stuff like that. Where you like I think that's the, not to like toot my own horn, but like just as my tastes have evolved and changed and as I've gotten older, I think the best thing that has happened to me is being able to enjoy camp. Because it just opens the world up to you.
It does.
And I love camp so much, and I love the camp in this movie, but I think that might be one of my problems with it. Is it's not fully in either. It's a little bit in both, and it feels a little off at times. Because I do appreciate what it's doing on both sides. I just don't think in general this movie comes together fully, and I don't hate it, and I don't hate anyone that.
I think it's a million things, though. I think it's a million things. I think it's one, like there's only been one other superhero movie really before. 2, Warner Brothers are putting big money behind this. They've got some say in it. 3, you're a weird little art student kid. You want to do things with it. So like it's like a lack of a path ahead because you've never seen anyone go down this route. In so many meanings, like also like not only is this the second basically superhero movie ever made. I know that there was Batman 19 the movie, but that doesn't count. That doesn't count. Superman in my book. Shoot me if you want to with a gun, but like Superman 1978. That's the first superhero.
Oh, absolutely.
And Batman 1989 is the second superhero movie.
Exactly. Yes.
I know they did a bunch of little stuff, but who gives a shit? But basically like to be like okay now dark and with like again just some kid who's basically fresh out of art school.
Let's get this little freak to do it, but for sure there is. There's probably like studio intervention because because of how I mean, like the man himself said, this was a cultural phenomenon, not because.
Oh yeah, that was literally actually manufactured.
It's not because people love Batman. It's because they put $1 billion behind the marketing.
I'm sure you've seen video essays about the thing, but like I watched one that was talking about how like literally before they even started working on the movie, they had the idea that they were going to do a movie. They had Batman. They knew Batman was dipping, but and like prior to starting their campaign, which didn't even have like they started the campaign before the movie was even announced. Because basically they realized that they had the Batman thing, but it wasn't even ranking in like the top 50 most recognizable like pop culture characters and stuff. Like, and so they did this whole like 5-year run where they like pumped up Batman to like a level where this movie was the biggest movie that ever came out because like they had literally manufactured a fad, manufactured a craze, right? And so you're Tim Burton, you just had like a big hit with Beetlejuice or whatever, but they basically say like, hey. We've put $1 billion into this, and also Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson are in this movie. Good luck. It was nuts. And, glad it went well for him because, hey, Edward Scissorhands is actually a really, really, really good movie. And I'm glad that got made. I've never seen Big Fish. People talk about Big Fish a lot, but and I would like to see Ed Wood, but I also want to get used to, like, familiar with Ed Wood before. And I want to watch things like Glenn and Glenda, and I want to watch Plan 9 from Outer Space.
We talked about this in private. I what I would like to do is for you to do that, and then both of us watch Ed Wood, and we have no experience with Ed Wood and see what our different takes are on it. But, all that being said, it makes me like Batman Returns so much more.
Oh yeah,
I have so much respect for Batman Returns because it's such a a weird, horny, little gross movie, and it's the sequel
with Christopher Walken.
And it's the sequel to Batman 1989. It's just so insane to think about. And it's and like the movie's just like a little bit more memorable to me because of specifically that.
We also got a lot of villains in there, and it is good. Like Catwoman has a great look. The Penguin has a great look. All these movies are full of like that, like I don't know if the word is sardonic, but like kind of like it's Tim Burton does have a dark sense of humor. Like I love like the posh parents, and they get this deformed baby, so they push the pram into the park and they just throw it in the lake on Christmas or whatever, and then it gets raised by penguins or whatever, and now it's gross and and you get a little more Gotham, and I don't know, it's interesting. Like I don't know why Batman seems to follow this pattern in my head, and I guess I'm really just basing it off of like the 2 separate little franchises that kind of happened, like the Tim Burton and then the Nolan, but like the first one has like this yellowy thing to it, orangey thing, and then the second one's got like a blue thing to it with like Batman Begins and the 1989, and then Batman Returns and the Dark Knight both have kind of like a blue thing about them. Even like their covers and the way they're marketed and stuff. Like I could show them physically to you and like prove my point. Even like the actual DVDs themselves.
I know exactly what you mean, but like in my mind, the Burton ones are purple.
Okay.
And the Nolan ones are black and white.
Yeah. But anyways,
I really want to watch the Nolan ones again because I haven't seen them all the way through in a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm nervous.
Me and my dad have talked about it a couple of times because, and we were, because basically he had come across a couple of TikToks, like the tides are changing a little bit on it. Just in the sense that people like look at it as like kind of like not too far from yes, Christian Bale, great actor, does a great job as Bruce Wayne, and like yes, Joker actor Heath Ledger, great and stuff like that. And I personally do like Batman Begins, but like the whole like militarization of Batman / like trying to place it in the real world just has like a little too bit of like a post 9/11 like military police vibe to it.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Like just this thing where it's like whether or not Christopher Nolan meant to, it just accidentally kind of has like a bootlick vibe to it, and it just hasn't aged as well.
I get that.
Yeah.
Like I think the thing that does it the biggest disservice and will for the rest of time is the way I feel about Batman 1989 of like I'm so tired of Gen X adults being like, oh, it's the best Batman, but The Dark Knight is that for us, and Gen Z kids are gonna be like, fuck it, I'm so, because I feel this way. I'm so sick of listening to people talk about how good The Dark Knight is, so I never want to defend it. Even like when we did our 100 movies list, I felt so bad every time doing it, but I'm like, how is that not in your top 100, Chris? And I'd like to go back and watch them and like, even the last time
it's a problem I have with Christopher Nolan. I've said this a million times on the podcast. Like, I like his movies when I'm watching them, but they never stick with me.
Yeah, and I feel...
It's always in one ear and out the other at the end of it.
Yeah, I feel the same
like, The Prestige. I love The Prestige.
Yeah.
And we just watched it recently. And it's so hard for me to, like, actually chart out exactly what the fuck happened or, like, grab a memorable moment other than, like, the hats in the yard.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm, not to say that it's like he's legitimately so good at what he does, and I love The Prestige.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, I always just feel like I walk away with little.
Thing about those Batman movies and Nolan movies in general is, I feel the same way as you, but I love it.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, like I know if you put The Dark Knight on, I'm gonna have a blast.
Exactly, and I can't tell you beat for beat what happens in The Dark Knight or any Nolan movie.
I almost can't even get the order straight, probably, if I had to.
Yeah, every time I rewatch a Nolan movie, there's like another layer I didn't see the first time I watched it, and not in like a, oh, you gotta watch a movie twice to really understand it kind of way. It's just like it's almost like he makes James Bond movies basically, where a lot of the plot isn't super important.
Yeah,
and there's just moments in there that you hang on to, and I get me so excited while I'm watching that movie, and that I will remember for the rest of my life. And then like later on afterwards, when you're thinking about it, you're like, oh well, none of that really made sense.
But I will say again and again, I really do like Batman Begins. That's my favorite of the three. I know that like The Dark Knight is more enjoyable, and it's technically like a better movie probably. I like that one. I think Batman's look in that one's
fun.
It's almost like The Phantom Menace, where like
oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like it's got that vibe to it, where it's like, is it my favorite look? No, but I don't. If there's two things I don't like about that series, it's one, the Tumblr, and two, to further contextualize the Tumblr. I don't think that he had to go like full technical, super real, because again, like, I think, in my opinion, like, even though it's a great movie, like, just aesthetically, I don't think that, like, the, what if Batman in the real world had to happen? I prefer, like, Superman 78, like, put him in spandex. Don't give a shit.
Yeah.
That looked great.
Yeah. For me, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't like watching a movie and being like, yeah, but I wish they had done this. I think that does a huge disservice to any movie you watch.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I also would prefer my favorite looking Batman is Ben Affleck, because he looks straight out of a comic book.
It's a good look. I haven't seen his movies yet, but it's a good look.
And I think maybe my least favorite Batman costume might be Christian Bale's in The Dark Knight or whatever.
But
for what that movie is, Yeah, it's
I think Begins is all right.
But for what those movies are, for what they're doing, I'm like, that's great. And yeah, I get the bootlicker thing, and I respect that and I appreciate it.
Fuck 12. No, but honestly, but it's interesting. Like, it's got like a little bit of like a Asian flair to it too, with like his like gauntlets.
Yeah,
he's got like almost like the thing that keeps his cape to his back. It's very interesting. It's very interesting little set.
Yeah, like I'll always, I for some reason the one I always come back to and I think about is the third one.
Yeah, I don't remember the distinction between that and the Dark Knight.
It's got Bane.
No, I mean like Joker. Oh, I thought you were talking about the suit. My bad.
Oh no, those are the same suits.
I was gonna say okay. I was like okay.
And like because the Dark Knight's got the Joker and all that, and like the sick ass ending where he goes, he's like, "What should we protect her?" Or Dark Knight, and then it's
See, I think the Batman Begins one has a pretty sick ending because Ra's al Ghul's like on the back of the train, and he's like whatever, and he says that thing where he's like, I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm gonna have to save you. And then the train.
It's great.
It's great, yeah. And also Scarecrow, I feel like underrated. I like the Scarecrow scenes,
he's
like
great,
when he shows up in that like apartment and he hits him with the fear gas, and he just daddy dumbs Batman.
I think I'm gonna watch Batman Begins tonight.
Yeah, it's good, and he gets engulfed in flames, and Alfred has to come pick him up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's
and it's raining
the part
too.
I remember the most is when he gets engulfed in flames, and like he's like, "What's the point of all those bloody push-ups if you can't even pick up a damn log or whatever he says?"
Yeah, and I like rainy Gotham. Like that's there. Like, again, I know Frank Miller has the bootlicking problem, and inherently Batman has the bootlicking problem.
Oh yeah.
But dude, that fucking like the run up to him coming back in the Dark Knight Returns, like in the comic, like there's nothing that gets me more than like the whole thing where it's like drought. We haven't got rain, and then the night he's Batman again, it's like wow, a downpour out of nowhere, and Batman's just running around kicking ass in this rain that's I know it's like the most lame and superficial like metaphor for like help, or whatever, but it's sick.
Yeah, I have huge problems with the Dark Knight Returns, but so sick.
Yeah, at the same time, like it's just got so many moments that I'm just like,
But I will. I always come back to the Dark Knight Rises, that third movie, because it has like. Because it's got like two of my like the most like memorable Batman moments in all of pop culture to me, and they're so just quintessential what we were talking about with Christopher Nolan, where it's just like in the grand scheme of things of this movie, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, and it's not like really supporting the plot in any way, but it's just a really really good moment that I love. That one starts with Batman's been gone for 8 years.
8 years, yeah,
and then Bane shows up because there's no crime in Gotham anymore, and Bane shows up and just starts fucking shit up. Yeah. And they rob the stock exchange. Then they get on those motorcycles and they're just driving down the freeway, and all the cops are chasing them. And I think it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in a car with another cop, a cop who's been in all the other movies, but he's just like a cop in the background in a scene or two. Yeah. And they're chasing after them. And
he does that thing where he's like, "Oh, you're in for a treat."
Yeah, and they're in a tunnel. Yeah. And all the lights go out in the tunnel, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like, "What's that?" And you just hear the of that motorcycle go by him, and he's like, "Oh, you're in for a show tonight." And it's just because, also from my memory, in this 3-hour movie, an hour has passed and you have not seen Batman yet. Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. Yeah. And then the very end of that movie, with the nuke and all that. Yeah. And they've got all the kids in the bus, and the explosion starts happening, and they're like, "Oh, this is it, get your heads down." And that one kid goes, "No, it's Batman." And then he comes out in the Batwing. So sick. Yeah. So sick.
Well, anyways, we watched another movie, though.
I'm cutting so much of that Batman talk out.
Oh, yeah?
But we watched Superman 1978.
Yes, Dick Donner also did The Goonies, and I feel like you can feel the DNA between the two.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Christopher Reeves.
Margot Kidder.
Yeah, crazy that they were like, "Yeah, you were in Black Christmas. Get up in this. Yeah, put your whole kiddussy in this."
Also, Christopher Reeves, you were in nothing.
Yeah,
you were in nothing to get your.
Yeah, I will say you mentioned that someone said it. I think it was like James Gunn or something. You talked about how he was talking about how like you just get the vibe that he just loves being Superman. Yeah, yeah, that's something that like Christopher Reeves knocks it out of the park with. Even though I think he's a little gangly and goofy, like he's just like such a good guy.
He's the nicest guy in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell. I buy him as Superman. Yeah. I like I said, I'm torn. There's half of me that like is like, okay, this is like silly, campy John Waters B-52s, but also I kind of don't like it. Like how, like just like, oh Lois, I think you should give him your purse. Like I think he goes. I hate all that. Yeah, I think he goes a little too far with because he could just be a nice guy and also not be the biggest,
Yeah, and I like that's what I.
Coward of all time, but
I love.
We'll get there.
Preface, you know this, but for anybody that's listening that doesn't, I love Superman more than air.
Yeah.
And I can talk about Superman for hours and hours and hours, but we're an hour into this already, so I'll try to keep it to a minimum. But yeah, I think that's the appeal of Superman. Is Superman's biggest superpower is he's just the nicest guy in the world.
Oh yeah,
and he's this super strong, to a fault, boring superhero who's just impervious to everything, but he's the nicest guy in the world, so he's not like there's nothing I hate more than like, what if Superman was a bad guy shit, because it's like, okay, what if Spider-Man couldn't crawl on walls? That's what you're saying to me. It's like, what if Superman was crazy fucking boring? Yeah. It's like, that doesn't, I hate the Man of Steel. I hate Injustice. I hate all that shit. And I do kind of dislike, I dislike Clark Kent in this movie. Yeah. And I hate, because it reminds me of Tarantino movie Kill Bill. Yeah, he gives that monologue at the end about how Superman's the only one who his alter ego is a human. He's this weak guy that's what he thinks of us, Yeah. And yeah, I think what always makes Superman more interesting is that he is in and out of the Cape a farm boy from Kansas. Yeah. And that he doesn't consider himself any different than anyone else around him. Yeah. And that's what makes him great. And I get that from Christopher Reeves' Superman. And but I think they lay it on way too thick with the, oh, geez, Lois. Yeah, yeah. But like I said, it's almost to a point where if you're coming from the angle of first Superman movie, it's just kind of like their words. A dumb thing that kids like, but let's try to make it into a movie. So you don't fully know what Superman is. Like nowadays, you can't not know what Superman is. Yeah. Yeah, I could see, I don't know, there's almost an enjoyment I get out of it, but it is, for lack of a better way of putting it, pretty cringe and I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm straddling the line between I feel like I should like this, but also it's getting on my nerves, which I think is what camp is sometimes. There's that montage in the middle of this movie. It's right after he saves her in the helicopter. Yeah. And then there's the montage of him stopping all the bad guys and getting cats out of trees and stuff. That's the best part of this movie. Yeah. And those 6 minutes hold up the rest of the 2.5 hours, in my opinion. Yeah, this goes on forever. So we start on Krypton. Oh, yeah. Bold. To reference what I said earlier about Batman and my negative views on it, this movie, fucking so boring. Yeah. It's way too long. Yeah. I love parts of it, but I think at the end of the day, I don't really like this movie either. Yeah, you start on Krypton. Jor-El is banishing Zod and his couple of friends to the Phantom Zone. Yeah, never come back in this movie, which is so funny. Yeah, because they're trying to do sedition or whatever. Is it that do they know that basically the council is ruining the planet? Because I know Jor-El finds that out, and he's like, there's a month left to live. And they're like, yeah, but you can't tell anybody. We don't want to panic. Yeah. So he goes home, and he's like, I'm going to pack up and overnight my son to Earth. Yeah. Right? Yeah. For the first 4 minutes, I was like, wow, they're really being tasteful with this 70s sci-fi garbage. And then for the next 6, they just... Yeah, those words, as soon as they left your lips, a big diamond came and took them into the Phantom Zone, and you're like, ugh. Yeah. But then, they start doing that thing where, they've got Star Wars on the wall, but crystals everywhere else. They've got Star Wars on the wall. And also, everyone's black because they're doing this thing where they're, making the reflective shit white. They've got, everything they're wearing is just, reflective tinfoil, but it's a cool look, but when anyone's not... It looks like the shit they're holding in the fucking Roswell photos. Yeah, I think it is. And whenever someone's not a foot from the camera, you cannot see them because their clothes are so bright. Yeah. And this goes on arguably too long. Yeah. So I love that they shoot their boy off into space, and he spends years. And the whole time, Jor-El is explaining everything to him, which obviously he retains nothing because he had to go to high school still. And he doesn't seem like a smart guy. He's not dumb, but he doesn't seem like, square root of 64 is 8 or whatever. And I love the little montage of just him saying stuff what he's teaching him. Yeah. Because it's it almost feels like the intro to Rick and Morty. Okay. Where, there's just 3 + 3 = 6 floating by, because he's saying shit to him E = MC squared and just dumb shit like that. Where giraffes have long necks. And this is a baby. Wait a couple years. Exactly. Yeah. It's a baby, and also you're a spaceman from a space planet. Yeah. There's no way that
You guys know what Will Zemsky squared.
Yeah. Just
whatever.
Like that. That's what you think is important. It's so funny.
Crash
Shout
Lands.
out Marlon Brando.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crash Lands.
You killed me with the years. Like, his lines are taped to that baby's chest.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you watch his eyes while he's saying anything, you can see them moving back and forth.
Yeah.
I love it.
Baby crash lands. Of course, it's a family. It's like a Raising Arizona story. Mommy wants a baby. They haven't had a baby before.
I do like conversation where she's like, "Oh, he doesn't have a family," and Pa Kent's like, "Fucking come on, seriously."
Yeah.
And she's like, "He's a gift from God," and Pa Kent's like, "Fucking okay."
Yeah, and
okay,
why do people always think that? Because that's the same thing that happens in Die Monster Die. Basically, radioactive rock falls from the sky, and Boris Karloff is like, "I thought it was a gift from the gods," or whatever. And the young fiance to his daughter is like, "No, it's fucking a radioactive rock that fell from the sky. That's why you're dying. You're dying because you've been fucking with radiation."
Yeah, because realistically, 1978, Ma Kent was probably born in 1845 or something.
Yeah, that's
like
crazy
that.
to
So
think
she's
about.
a person that would believe, "Oh, this is a gift from God."
Like my grandpa's grandpa was born in like 1880 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so like in 1960, when they put a fucking 65 or 67 or whatever the fuck it was, when they put a man on the moon, my grandpa's like, I can remember him telling me, "Don't let everybody tell you they ever put a man on no moon."
Yeah.
Whatever.
I love that.
And
did you tell me he would just like he would drive but like follow no rules?
absolutely, yeah. That was one of those things where like he was like I remember my mom always being like I would like my grandpa would eventually be like, "Oh, I got to go into town for something." I'd always want to go with him, and my mom would always try to stop me. He's like, I never understood until I got a little older. Like, yeah, I shouldn't. He's basically like, I should not have been. He's like, I can remember him driving in both lanes, driving in the other lane.
So funny.
Yeah, very funny. But people used to just be built different.
Reminds me of something I saw the other day on Twitter. I want to say.
Okay.
Someone was like, "Oh, this scene from Lord of the Rings would have killed the Victorian child," or like one of those jokes.
Yeah.
And someone responding with that of like, I think J.R.R. Tolkien was like born in like 1880 something. So technically a Victorian child.
Yeah. No, it's genuinely nuts to think about.
It kind of brings me to something that I think is insane with this movie, is that like I think even more so than what Batman 89, what they were trying to do with that market push, is what this movie just did when it came out.
Yeah.
Like I remember watching this now like a year or two ago. I just had it on, like we were having like a family event and we were waiting for everyone to come over, and I just threw it on the TV so it could be on in the background. And my like 80-something-year-old grandma going, like not even a scene that has Superman in it.
Yeah.
Just like a scene of two people talking to her going, "Oh, is this Superman?"
Yeah.
And I went, "Yeah." She went, "Oh, I love this movie."
Yeah, for some reason I have a distinct memory of my grandma one time, the rooftop interview, her being like, "Oh, I love this scene."
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Where were we?
Literally Little Boy Dick.
Oh yeah, the Little Boy Dick is out.
Yeah.
And it's a different time and all that, but I don't think there was a time where somebody didn't go, "Hey, do we have to? Do we gotta, guys?
Yeah.
Can we shoot him profile?
Yeah.
We could do that. He could stand to the side.
Yeah.
Or we can keep him in the little castle."
Yeah. So then the movie Smallville for a little while, they're really doing an intro.
They really
they're
are.
really. This is Uncle Ben getting shot for the first half of the movie.
Yeah. They have Christopher Reeve ADRing that teenage boys lines, which are just so strange.
Yeah. He's hanging out. He's a little water boy for the football team. He's kind of pushing up against like what's allowed, and Pa Kent puts him in his place. I actually really like this line. Where he's like, "What's wrong with the guy who can, always score a touchdown, always score a touchdown? That's not showing off. Is a bird every time it takes off and flies showing off, whatever?" He's like, "No." He's like, "But I believe you're put here for a reason, and I don't think that reason was scoring touchdowns."
Yeah, it's perfect. That is just every heartwarming, touching Pa Kent story in any comic book boiled down into like 4 words. It's great.
Yeah, perfect. Then he has a heart attack, and he tells Annie M that I gotta go to Oz, baby. And so he goes to Oz, but I think before he goes to Oz, he does the thing that Man of Steel does, or whatever. But he doesn't go work on a fish boat. He just goes to Antarctica and throws a green crystal that's not kryptonite.
Who knows?
Into the water, and that makes a crystal grow, big crystal house.
Yep. Which has Computer Dad in it.
Computer Dad, and then 12 years pass while he's talking to Marlon, he says?
Sure.
He says something like, he's like, by the time you get back to your planet, 12 of their years will have passed. So anyways, and then he comes back and he's wearing Superman's suit, and he goes to Metropolis. He gets a job. He is visibly much older than when he left.
Oh, yeah.
And he meets Margot Kidder, and he
but
meets
also
Jimmy
they
Olsen.
were built different back then. He could
that
be
just happened.
He could be Christopher Reeve could be 19 in this movie. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet he's 22 when this movie was shot. I'd bet money. But anyway, so then he's just hanging out in New York, and honestly, like a lot of this gets blurry.
He's not hanging out in New York. He's hanging out in Metropolis.
Yeah, but there is the Statue of Liberty there, unless they took a day trip.
They did. He's Superman. He flies fast, and also. Maybe Metropolis is between New York City and New Jersey. We don't know.
That is something also that I like about Batman 89, though, is there's a point, like on one of your like little Gotham computers, his Batman computers, you can see a map of Gotham City. And I just like anytime someone takes the time to make a map of a fictional place.
Yeah. I love...
So hard. I couldn't imagine doing that. Same thing with like inventing a language. Like, what the fuck, dude?
I love in Batman versus Superman.
Oh, where their sister cities like across a river?
Yeah, there's a scene where someone's like, "Oh, Superman, you know what you gotta do? You gotta go to Gotham City and beat up Batman." And Superman goes, "Oh," and just looks to his left and like across the river, you see Gotham City. It's so funny.
There's something about Metropolis that vibes a little more doesn't snow, but not exactly L.A.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas
you
Gotham
never see snow in Metropolis.
Yeah, Gotham seems more like a New York-y city.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what Metropolis would be, but I see it being a little more warm.
Yeah, it's the ideal big city. It's ambiguous. It doesn't exist.
But if you had to place it, where would you pin it on a map, I guess? Given the context of you've never seen it snow. I've never seen it snow. Florida? Would it be in Florida somewhere?
It'd probably be... Yeah, damn. It would probably be
or Atlanta.
I don't know where it doesn't snow. I want to say it's on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say Florida because that's too hot. Like right above Florida. What state's above Florida?
Georgia. So Atlanta. It's almost like an Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay. It's Atlanta.
Okay. Anyways, you meet Lex Luthor. He's got a bumbling sidekick and a lady.
Great.
I like his little thing, his little setup, like where he's like made a pool out of like some sectioned off atrium type, whatever the fuck. And I like his whole spiel about real estate. And he's like, people give an arm and a leg for a Park Avenue address. And he's like, it just happens to be 200 feet under the ground. He's like, what more could you want?
Who do you know who has a Park Avenue address? 10 feet underground.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
Gene Hackman, obviously a monster. Not in a bad way. I mean, like, he's acting his little,
ass off, yeah.
Hackmanussy off.
Into the ground. Into Lex Luthor's house. We're taking that joke. And then a bunch of bullshit happens.
Yeah, stuff happens. Like,
he's newsing. He's
on the news. The interview happens. The interview is cute.
I want to shout out Margot Kidder. I think. In my personal opinion, I think
dollars to donuts.
Super easy to get Lois Lane to be incorrect. Like I feel like a lot of times, like even in the newest ones, I love Amy Adams, I believe the actress's name is. But her Lois Lane kind of sucks. I mean, it's just written poorly. No. I think like the big mistake is Lois Lane is a man. Just is a man written by a man. Yeah. Like the way to make Lois Lane a powerful reporter that doesn't take no shit from nobody is that she acts the way a man would act in her position.
I like her. She's smoking. She's drinking. She's a go-getter. She shoots straight. She's rough.
Yeah. And
she's gruff.
The way Lois Lane should work is the way I think Margot Kidder plays her. Is she's like
she complements what Clark Kent is. Clark Kent is
exactly
a woman. He's got a little typing job.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't have to be like that. Overly like I said, what a man's idea of a successful woman should be. She is just a successful person that doesn't take no shit from nobody. Mm-hmm. It's great.
Yeah. Margot Kidder, great.
She does it perfect. Give me an interview with Superman, Perry says.
They've got chemistry when they do the interview also.
Oh, yeah. Like we said earlier, he's a bit scrawny. He looks a little strange sometimes, but him just walking around.
Or talking. He talks very well.
Yeah, him just walking around.
He's a great talker.
He is the most charming man I've ever seen in this scene. It's perfect. Yeah. And the two of them, boy, they got it. Boy, oh, they got it.
Yeah.
Love it. The flying scene is a little strange and goes on for way too long.
Yeah. It is something similar to the Batman, where like Elton was watching the Batman and he's like, oh, okay, so it's this is a romantic comedy, and I was like, yeah, kind of. It's kind of a romantic comedy.
Yeah. Like I think built into Superman is Lois Lane.
Yeah, it's not a romantic comedy necessarily, but it is a very romantic movie.
Where, on the other hand, I never, ever, ever want to see Batman have a girlfriend that isn't Catwoman. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, a little sexy dom to sometimes bang him on a rooftop, I guess.
Exactly. And then,
well, this is getting horny. So yeah,
they go on the date. Yada yada yada. Fucking what? I don't know how. I cannot think of 2 hours worth of movie that happens from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he saves cats and stuff,
which is great.
Lex Luthor is like, "Hey, I'm gonna put a bunch of gas in the city," and then he shows up at Lex Luthor's thing.
Earlier, Lex Luthor stole some nukes.
He does a bunch of Wile E. Coyote shit where they keep yeah, very funny. Then that he's also been buying all this property in the desert, which I like. Someone says it in passing at the Daily Planet earlier. Everybody's like, "Why would a madman do that?" And eventually Gene Hackman's like, "Yeah, because everything on this side of the fault line, which Clark Kent does know, so I guess he is a smart guy. Maybe all that baby talking did pay off. Is 95% of the fucking real estate. If we blow this off, now everything that I bought,
no, the baby
is worth money.
Talking didn't pay off. It's the 12 years he spent inside that cave paid off.
With his dad, yeah." Now I'm going to tell you what a fault line is.
We don't have him here, but...
Yeah, so then he flies off, and this moment is very much exactly the Dark Knight, where he's got two things to go do at the same time. It's impossible.
I do love Otisburg. It's a great joke.
Yeah.
I think it just played very well between the two of them.
Yeah.
Well, she's got her own spot of Otisburg.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's just a little pot of land. Otisburg?
Yeah.
It's great. And then, he reverses an earthquake. Not time.
Yeah,
but
he goes under there and he lifts something, and somehow that stops an earthquake from continuing.
Yeah,
which is weird because I thought tectonic plates kind of things would be next to each other.
Shift and separate or overlap.
Yeah,
and that's what happens.
So I don't know.
So pushing dirt back into the hole doesn't work.
Whatever.
And
he's Superman.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, I gotta shout it out. I'm glad I remembered it. The Andy Kindler bit. Andy Kindler, so fucking funny.
Oh yeah.
And because I can't remember the exact bit or whatever, but he's talking about watching the old Superman serials, and Jimmy Olsen says something like, "Not unless they get or maybe Superman can stop time or something like that, or maybe he can turn back time or whatever." And he's like, and Clark Kent turns to him, he's like, "Jimmy, don't be an idiot. He's just a Superman," or something. I can't remember. I can't remember what it is. I'll have to listen to it again. But either way, all I'm gonna say is a great opportunity to segue to Andy Kindler. Very funny guy, ridiculously funny guy. Underrated, underappreciated. Andy Kindler's so funny.
He gets our stamp of approval.
Yeah, Andy Kindler, very funny. I'll make Nick listen to the bit later.
I've heard it.
Oh, again.
Okay.
Anyways, so he goes, he stops the one nuke, like you said. He has to reverse the earthquake from the other nuke happening.
The dam starts falling apart.
Yeah, all this I remember from being a kid. Like when she's dangling out of the helicopter, I remember that from being a kid very vividly. I remember the dam breaking very vividly from being a child. I remember the rooftop interview from being a child. And he turns back time to save Lois Lane because she falls into the whatever. And this is weird. It goes on for a long time. He mourns her. He kisses her dead body on the lips. She also looks very dead. This is some of the most dead I've ever seen someone look.
We also totally passed up. Lex Luthor puts a kryptonite necklace around him and throws him in a pool.
Yeah.
Which is ice cold. Love it.
Yeah.
And then,
this movie does 3 sexual transgressions, but continue.
And when he pushes him in there, before he pushes him in there, Superman's like, "Where's the other bomb going?" He's like, "Oh, Haddonfield, New Jersey." And then pushes him in there, and his lady assistant goes, "My mother lives in Haddonfield, New Jersey." And I love this. Lex Luthor goes and looks at his watch and goes, and just shakes his head like, "No, she doesn't live there anymore."
Yeah.
And so she pulls Superman out of the water.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to revive him, and she kisses him.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Why'd you kiss me first?" She goes, "I didn't think you'd let me do it later." It's like, oh no, Superman, are you okay?
Do you remember the third one?
I don't.
They have her hot and pretending to be dead on the sidewalk, and the whole army is boys, we got to do mouth to mouth about face.
Yeah. We made that joke where she's pretending to be unconscious on the side of the road, and all the army men get out. I forget, it was either me or you went, "Oh, me first."
Yeah.
And then it cuts to them, and they're all going, "Fucking me first." It's like, oh no.
Yeah. But anyway, so then
he reverses time.
He reverses time. Because everybody knows that the sun and the moon and the rotation of the Earth, that is actually time literally moving forward.
Yeah, of course.
If you can back that around.
Time is different on all planets.
Yeah, if you could back that around. Anyways, and then he picks up Lex Luthor and his little dummy and puts them both in prison. And I think that's it.
Then he flies away and winks at the camera, and then
great theme.
Great song.
Both these movies have amazing themes.
Chris, which one's better?
The Superman one, probably.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And yeah, I think I have the same general problem with this movie as I do with the Batman one.
Yeah.
I think the strongest point of this movie is Christopher Reeve as Superman.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think this movie, for my money,
I think it's a little more boring.
Oh, it's way more boring. I would rather watch Batman 89 any day than this.
Yeah.
I think it just misses the point of Superman, which I don't think is hard to do, to miss the point. I think 5% of people who make Superman stuff, in my opinion, understands what makes a good Superman story.
Also, Lex Luthor, I think, learns about kryptonite from a book.
Yes, in his big brain.
Yes. So this movie overall, I'm going to give it like a motherfucking B, I think.
I'm going to give this motherfucker a B-.
Okay, fair enough.
Do you want to go? Wait, what are we doing next week?
What are we doing next week? Well, next week, I think I want to watch a movie called Living on Tokyo Time.
Okay.
Yep.
I think I know that. I think I've heard of that before.
Yeah.
Someone coming to San Francisco, yeah?
Yeah, I think you may have seen a poster.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you want to watch?
I've been just a jealous little bitch lately because you watched The Fly the other day, so I'm going to make you watch The Fly again.
Yeah.
You can't. I won't let it fly.
I'm going to watch it again.
I won't let it fly if you don't watch it again.
No, I'm going to watch it again.
Okay.
And I feel like I have to. Because it's one of those movies where genuinely, hand on a stack of Bibles, like sub 5 minutes of watching it, I called someone and was like, this is a movie that I would literally sit here and watch again.
I did that with you with The Shining.
Yeah. The Shining?
If I remember correctly, I was half an hour into it, and I texted you. I was like, Chris, this is my favorite movie.
Yeah, it's in a slightly different way. It's like, it's got like that Back to the Future kind of thing where it's like 80s and in a sense hard to take serious, but at the same time, it does that like animated series thing, like the animated series where like there are like these serious moments where you're like, no, this is more than just a silly monster movie from the 80s. Like, this was really good. I think that's a great pick.
All right.
Perfect. Wrapped it up with a little bow on top in a box. And UPS says flat rate. Get there by Thursday, $14.
Closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts?
Not necessarily about the movies, just in general.
Go to the USPS. Do not go to UPS. All right. Yeah. That is, unless you've got closing thought?
Chris?
Yeah.
You did great this episode.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I was just trying to give you a little confidence.
Yeah, I think you did a good job too.
Give you a little compliment.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't fishing for that, but thank you.
Okay. Well, I think that's that now, Mattress Man.
Okay. Yeah.
If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time,